Hey, this is Ken. Thanks for checking out the Comics Grind and our trilogy of Kubert School videos. Stick around till the end for early access to a special video about the Kubert School Mansion. And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I'm one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez.
And I'm Ken, aka Comic Ken on YouTube.
Welcome back. We are here at part 3 of our interview series with Ken and his experience at the Kubert School. It's going to be a fun one. Ready to cap this one off. Ken, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I just gotta take this like defensive driving thing and get that done. It's like a 6-hour course, but yeah, once I'm done with that, I'll be a lot happier.
Defensive driving. Dude, I haven't done that in so long. I feel like I've been obeying the speed limit way too much lately. I feel like I need to break some rules.
No, I have to start obeying the speed limit a little bit more, you know.
So you can make some time for doing some comics.
Yeah.
Speaking of comics, man, let's go ahead and just kind of jump into this third session here as part 3 of our Kubert School interview with you.
Yep.
So for those of you who are just tuning in this week, you can go back to the last 2 episodes and check out part 1 and part 2 of this interview, all talking about Ken's experience at the Kubert School, a three-year school that he went to a handful of years ago. So Ken, so you're done with year 2 at this point, and
Yep.
you're making your way into year 3. Before you start the semester, I guess kind of like what was your mindset? Were you kind of like, all right, I'm going into year 3, I'm going to finish this year out, and I'm hoping and praying for some big 2 work? Or were you kind of like, you know what, I've got my skills now, let me start working on my own thing and try to lift that off, and then maybe get to the license work and all that? What was your mentality?
I was exactly thinking that last thing that you just said. I was just like, all right, I got the skills. I'm ready to set out on my own and get it started. In fact, like they told me that some people are able to work straight out of year 1. And I was thinking, oh, I'll be one of those guys. I'll be able to just start getting a professional work out of year 1. But nah, it didn't happen that way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So what I did was I just kept going until year 3, and I never planned to go into Marvel or DC straight off. I had people suggest that to me, but my style never really fit in with those companies. So it was either Archie Comics or some other type of cartoonish style of comic company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, I've on a podcast or something that I listened to a while back, whoever the guest was saying, you know, years ago, it was always about, you would ask a Kubert school room or any kind of comic school room, like, hey, what do you guys want to do with this? And, 90% of them would raise their hand saying, oh, we want to do Marvel work, we want to do DC work. But
Right.
now, flash forward to, modern times, you ask that question again, and 90% of the room is like, oh, I want to be the next Walking Dead, oh, I want to be the next Invincible, I want to
Right.
make my own stuff, I want to learn the craft and make my own stuff,
Yeah.
which is
You
cool.
know what it is? You know what it is? It's like what I want to do is have a style that is so versatile that I can do indie work, but then eventually do like Marvel and DC stuff.
Mhm.
Kind of like Ryan Otley. His style works incredibly well for Invincible, but then it also is versatile enough to go into like the Hulk and Spider-Man as well.
Right. Yeah. It's that's a good way to go about it too. The thing that's, everyone's trying to get their own indie property out, and then
Yeah.
hopefully get noticed by DC, Marvel, whoever. So it's not like there's so many people doing it. It becomes that much more difficult. But so were your peers kind of that same mentality too? Pretty much wanting to do like indie stuff, or were they into
Mm.
trying to get that big two work?
No, most everyone else was trying to get any kind of work at all. So they weren't thinking in terms of big two, and they weren't necessarily thinking of like, oh, I'm going to strike out on my own as an indie comic artist. They were thinking, whoever hires me and can pay me money, that's who I want to join. Or if I can get big on Instagram and start making money that way,
Hmm.
that's that's more along the lines of what they were thinking of.
Yeah. So you mentioned like your style didn't quite fit exactly. So I wanted to ask a little more about like when you're getting into like when you start year three and everything,
Hmm.
and you're kind of surveying your peers and everything. How were their styles like? So I'm sure a lot of people that are maybe thinking about going to a comic school like Kubert School,
Hmm.
um, they're wondering like, do you have to be like pro level, by the end of the class, or I mean at the end of the program, like, or so whenever you were going in that year three, were there some like more cruder styles? Were some people maybe not as polished as others, or were by that year three were people kind of like professional, ready to go?
Yeah, there were definitely some cruder styles for sure.
Okay.
Those people started off like really crude, but then they got more refined in their style over time, so that
Hmm.
it looked smoother than it did in the first year and more professional. But it didn't come out to professional work by the end of the third year. Same with me. I didn't come out to professional work by the end of third year. I could maybe do professional coloring like I'm doing right now,
Hmm.
but I didn't have any interest in drawing after the third year, but that's a different matter. The students that started off with a very refined style just got more refined over time, and by the third year, there was maybe only two or three professionals in my entire grade that could start getting like work out of third year,
Hmm.
but it wasn't really as prevalent as you might think. We weren't like badasses by the end of third year. We
Yeah.
were just like, all right, we finished school, we survived.
Yeah.
And that was more the mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it's still. I mean, it's only 3 years, right? So like three years in the grand scheme of things is not a ton of time in like a artistic career. So
Right.
you're yeah, I understand. It's like you're not totally there yet. Um, as far as your year three classes, was it basically, um, you know, storytelling 3, anatomy 3, coloring 3? Was it
Yeah.
like that, or were you having just like any kind of different types of courses that maybe you enjoyed, or you weren't expecting that third year? Or was it basically just like the next level of the stuff of the exact courses you took in the previous year?
Yeah, it was pretty much just that. Anatomy 3, narrative 3.
Hmm.
And the only thing that didn't really carry on was animation. In year one, you do animation class, and then after that, you just carry on doing comic book stuff. So we had like business of art two, because in first year we didn't have business of art, and then we also had writing two. So we'd be writing our own scripts, stories, pitch packets, and all that kind of stuff to eventually like send out to publishers if we were aiming for that.
Gotcha. Did you have a final project that year? Was there like one massive project that was due? Kind of like, when I was going to graduate school, we had like a thing called a capstone. So it was like a big um, you know, program ending project that you had to do. Did you have to do that at the Kubert school?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a year end project, and that was in multiple classes. So they would say, like, this is going to be the final project. Decide what you want to do now, and then you have 5 months or 3 months to complete it. And then it better be like the best thing ever you made by the end of that time period. But you have time to basically like develop and bring it to fruition by the end. So
Hmm.
they give you plenty of time to decide what it is you want to do, and if you want to use it for multiple different classes, if you could find a way to make that work and save yourself some work, then like more power to you. But um,
I mean, it
yeah,
seems like you could, right? Like, if you're working on a short story, you can use the same thing for like your, your storytelling class as you could for the coloring class or something, right?
yeah. Or if
Yeah.
you had like pencils in a different class, you could use that for inks in another class.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So what was your final thing? Was it air writer related?
yeah. Of course, it was air writer related.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be not air writer related. So yeah, it was air writer related. I actually did. I finished my first issue of Air Rider, and then I used my COVID stimulus check to print out the books, and then just started passing them out at school and selling some of them too. And I sold some to the school as well. But that's what I did for like my main final project. I was just like going to all my teachers, asking them for help with the lettering, the coloring, all that stuff, every aspect of the comic process, and trying to milk everything I could out of them in the last few months of the school year. So my first issue of Air Rider was one of my final projects, and the rest of them were just I don't really remember them. I can't really recall them right now,
Hmm.
but that's the main thing that I remember accomplishing at the end of that year.
Yeah. How did it feel getting that thing done? Was it like a weight off your shoulders? Did you feel pretty accomplished after that, or were you kind of like, up on to the next thing?
No, no, I was really happy about it, especially when they gave me the proof copy. I was always just like flipping through. I was just like, man, this is amazing. Like,
Oh,
wow.
so,
I can't
they actually printed it for you?
not the Kubert school, but I
Oh,
sent it off
okay.
to a printer that one of my teachers recommended.
Mm.
And they sent me a proof copy and I was just flipping back and forth through it. I was like, wow. But yeah,
How were some of the other like final projects? Were they did they look pretty good? Were they kind of full comic stories, or what? How did your other classmates do?
there weren't a lot of like full comic stories because the final project in each class was a different thing. It could be like a big illustration
Mm.
or a painting or a script, but not all of them were like a big book. I just did that. I just had that prepared from like second year till now,
Yeah.
um, to actually get that printed out by the end of that year. So I
Right.
was a different case, but
Right.
yeah, that's how it was.
Um. So you do that final project. So we got to get into the the portfolio review.
Right.
Because that is, that comes after, like, basically after your final and everything, or did it come before that?
That came pretty much at the end of, let's say, the end of the first semester. There was December, where like November, December, you had the DC and Marvel portfolio reviews,
Hmm.
and those were the first ones to come up. And then the next year, you had all the other companies. So they got the big ones out of the way. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, I'm trying to get to the portfolio review and like your experience with that, like how that all went down.
Right.
So so okay, so your portfolio review, it was like a virtual thing, right? Like you guys did it on Zoom or something, or was it in person?
Yeah, and it ended up having to be virtual because of COVID and the
Yeah.
lockdowns or whatnot. But beforehand, like in years past, they would have a representative come out to the school, and then people would come out and talk to them, show them the portfolio in person.
Hmm.
But we just gathered our work digitally and sent it in, and they would have a Zoom meeting with us.
Cool. So you basically scanned everything, digitized it for the most part.
Yeah,
Cool. So who was it? Well, who were the publishers there doing that final portfolio review? Which
I don't
companies?
remember like a lot of them. There was, the basic big two.
Hmm.
They were there. I don't even know if, well, let's say Pixie Tricks Comics was there. There was, I think, Scout Comics was there, and there was Sinopa Publishing. That one's always, I think that one's really affiliated with the school because it was started by a Kubert School alum.
Hmm.
And there was a whole bunch of others that I just don't remember because there was a lot of portfolio reviews in the second semester.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Do you are you able to access your portfolio quickly to kind of show on the video, or is that would be too much trouble? Because I know last week we were able to look at uh, a few things from your but it might be kind of cool if we can bring that up if you can access it quickly.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I have my portfolio up here. Give
We
me
should
one
have
sec.
we should have prepped this before the show. Sorry for our plentiful viewers out there.
Nah, it'll only be like 2 seconds to pull that up.
Sweet. No, that's cool. Yeah, we can take a look at that and maybe just kind of do a quick little walkthrough of it.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It wasn't
So was it for you when you went into the review? Was it something that was were you kind of like nervous for it, or was it something that's kind of like people have been critiquing my work for the last 3 years. Whatever happens, happens.
yeah, I wasn't really like super worried about it at that point.
Yeah.
I was just like really happy that I got my book out. So I
Mhm.
wasn't like worried about, oh, they're gonna say this and that and all that stuff. I wasn't super worried about it.
Yeah. Were you in like a mentality where you were like, all right, I got my book now. This thing's gonna, you know, skyrocket and I'm gonna become like huge now. Was that kind of your mentality before you were hit with reality?
Oh, absolutely not. I was just so overcome with the fact that I got the book out to begin with because it
Hmm.
took so long to do that. I didn't I didn't even think about where it would go afterward. I was just like, all right, I did it.
Yeah, yeah, for
I was
sure.
just happy about that. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Let's go ahead and put it on here. Sweet. Got it up.
Oh, okay, cool. So this is one of the first pieces that I presented for the portfolio. I'll wait for it to pop up here.
Did you have was it a pretty good file size? Like did you have a bunch of stuff in there?
What you mean?
Like in your full portfolio that they reviewed?
Yeah, I think they said pull out like 10 or 15 of your best pieces
Oh, okay.
and just show them what you got.
Dope.
And this is one of the pieces I had here.
Dope, dope.
So
Yeah,
this
you
was
you
like,
went you threw down on the inking on this one.
oh yeah, for sure. But actually, I got a critique. They said, "Oh, don't ink yourself. Have somebody else ink you." I was just like, "Dang,
What?
wow."
Wait, what? Don't ink yourself? Have somebody like ink you all the time? Is it
Yeah, they said, just make sure somebody else does your inks. I was like, "Dang, all right."
really?
Yeah, because my inks are kind of rough. They're not like professional yet. They were looking for like really polished professional style, so I wasnwasn't there yet. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
have they ever seen Junji Ito in his inking? Like his inking is pretty erratic and stuff like this.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'm using a lot of manga or like European type styles,
Yeah, yeah.
but in America they like very clean, sleek, you know, polished. And that's
Dude,
not
that's
what
whack.
my stuff was.
I'm sorry. That's whack. Whoever said that.
Yeah, I don't
Because
know,
like
man.
I couldn't imagine just. I mean, for me, obviously, like I don't have the professional training and everything, but like having somebody ink my stuff all the time, like because at the end of the day, like they're not getting your exact representation because you're always going to see things differently than what that second artist sees.
Right.
That's a weird comment, but anyway,
Yeah, it is what it is, man.
it is what it is.
But yeah, this was the next piece. This is the piece I use for all my promotion of Air Rider and all that. It's on my website, it's on my channel, it's on my Twitter,
Yeah,
it's on everything.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
that
yeah.
took me a full summer to do actually.
This piece here, was it 11 by 17 sideways,
Yeah.
horizontal? Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like. You did you do it all digitally or did you ink on a board and scan it?
Yeah, I this is what I did. I think I penciled it traditionally a little bit, and then I uploaded it, started penciling it digitally. Then I printed out on Blue Line, did the inks on paper, and then scanned it in and colored it digitally.
Yeah, nice. It's like with some like because like if you compare like your last piece like that heavily inked piece and this one less inked with this piece obviously
Mm-hmm.
not as much inking rendering, like it's always hard for me sometimes when I do something that's um like when I don't see a ton of marks on the page,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to not put marks down, like whenever it's
Right.
it's it's very sparse in terms of black ink, I'm kind of like, damn it, I need to add something, like it looks incomplete. Do you ever get that?
Um. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes when it's looking too empty.
yeah. I was like, I need to put some rendering somewhere.
Right.
No, with that, yeah, I love that piece, man. You got such a good angle, good perspective on that thing.
Appreciate it, man. Let me see. I think this might be the portfolio. Yeah, this is the actual document. So that.
Nice. We're getting an
So this is.
inside scoop here, viewers. This is some A quality video content here.
But this is like. th- This is my portfolio stuff. I'm just gonna do a run through really quick
Yeah,
of
yeah,
everything
yeah.
that's
You
on
don't
here.
have to. Yeah, you don't have to sit
Right.
through and analyze every piece.
Right.
just,
But
just to
this
kind of
is.
give a viewing of like maybe those who are interested in maybe potentially going, like maybe this is a sample portfolio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So.
I remember seeing this piece at your table a couple years back.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
This one took a while to do, and it was actually the first piece where I felt like, okay, drawing is work. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, okay, I need to establish the perspective. I need to
Hmm.
establish the scale of everything. Make sure things aren't like clashing with each other. I was working with like Tom Mandrick to make sure like the black and white was balanced and all that, and he helped me like really figure out the layout of the scene,
Yeah.
and I figured
Yeah,
out the
for sure.
perspective, all that stuff. It took like 2 weeks to get it all done.
Oh yeah. I mean that yeah, you got the perspective there. You got the shadow coming up from the underbellies of the dinosaurs there.
Right. So then there
Yeah,
was
there's
that,
a whole bunch of stuff in that one.
and then this was a John Constantine script.
Cool.
I think the writer was Jerry Duggan or Dugan. I don't really
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And I still have like that anime style in there.
Hmm.
And so it was like a 3-pager we did for our writing teacher, Erica Schultz. And then this was like my favorite. one of my favorite digital pieces from,
Yeah, that one's dope.
yeah,
Yeah.
from I think it was from second year, and it was like a 2 or 3 week project. But I took extra longer. I took extra long on it because I wanted it to be like really solid. I took really long time just to figure out the running pose and how to make it look like she's actually running fast. And
Yeah, like you have to lift both feet off of the ground to make it look a little more speedier.
right, like I just looked at Olympic runners for like 2 weeks, just studying like how are they running and what are
Yeah,
they doing, watching video and stuff like that just to get the pose right.
right.
And yeah, that's the end of that portfolio. This is what I sent
Oh,
in to have reviewed,
yeah.
and I didn't get any jobs off of it. You know what I mean? Like,
So what was their like general consensus of everything? Were they pretty positive on it? Like how I know like that comment that they said about that, don't ink yourself probably was a little disheartening when you heard that, but other than that, were they how was the response?
well, it wasn't that disheartening because Nick Patera, he always tells me like, no, just ink yourself. You make more money that way. But but
Well,
also
there you
like,
go. Yeah.
but also like, you'll get the final vision of your work when you ink yourself,
Yeah.
even if it's not the best inking in the world.
Right. So you were kind of like, whatever, dude. Whenever you said
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But their responses were pretty much overall positive. They were like, "Oh, this is a very strong start." I was just like, "Dang, this is a start." Um, they said it's a good start. It's not quite polished. It's not where we want it to be, but keep going, and in a few years, you'll be getting work regularly if you keep it up.
Mhm.
So that was like the general consensus.
Right.
One critique I got from Giselle Legassi from Pixie Tricks Comics, because with her company or with her publisher, like my art style would fit the most because it was the most like cartoony, and her style is like really cartoony.
Hmm.
Um, her critique was that since I'm already so set in doing my own thing with Air Rider, it would be better for me to pursue that than to try to get work with her company, which was, I think it was kind of like a soft rejection, but she said like you could make it on your own with
Right.
Air Rider and what you're doing.
Oh yeah. I mean that's probably not that's advice, right? Yeah, she was
Right.
giving you some good advice in that one. I mean that's good. I mean sometimes you obviously you probably didn't need to hear that because like you knew that's kind of what you wanted to do anyway, but you
Right.
know somebody else who's like, oh man, I need to be the next Spider-Man guy. Okay, that advice might go somewhere.
Yeah.
So you got your portfolio review. Nothing ever really came from it. Did you get some good networking connections at least, or
Not from the
anything?
portfolio reviews, no, but
Yeah,
mainly from my friends and the people who I was like hanging out with at the Kubert school.
right,
Those are guys I still talk to this day, still keep in contact with, still keep in touch with. Some guys even from the first year I still like keep in touch with, keep in contact with, and
right,
they left after first year. So
right. Yeah,
yeah, it's really more the people that you've had exposure to your whole time there that will be your best bet in networking and getting you opportunities later on down the line than the portfolio reviewers at the end.
yeah. I think it's kind of like I know I've heard it a lot before, but it's kind of like where all these guys that are in a certain class, right, or a certain generation, or that are all kind of rising together. They're all part of like that same wave, and they kind of rise similarly. So like by you having like those networking connections that you made while at school, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's like the wave that like rises together, because I've heard so many kind of when I listen to podcasts and stuff, you know, um, like I think it was Matt Fraction or somebody who was on a pod and talking about like I think it was like the Jeff Lemire's and some others that they all kind of started out at the same time,
Right.
at the same level. They all were going to shows, together at the same times. And you can see, the people who he listed out and who he was talking about in that, that instance, like they all kind of rose together, and like they're both kind of, mainstayers in the industry, which is I always thought that was pretty interesting. So by you going to the Kubert school, you've got a good kind of head start in that capacity.
Yeah, and like if you wanted to be noticed by the bigger companies, you'd have to be like extraordinarily polished by the third year. You'd have to be like dang near professional level for them to even like consider you. So even if your stuff looks good from a distance, if you look at it up close and it has a whole bunch of amateur marks on it, like unpolished, rough looking work, then they won't really consider you
Hmm.
in terms of hiring, because they'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, he can maybe do this if he works slow enough, but even then it won't be published enough for polished enough for us to publish it.
Yeah.
Which I don't really like polished stuff
Yeah.
in general. Like
Yeah.
I'm more
And
on the
that's what I was
rough
about to
side.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Like, um, people have said before. My friend Xavier, who I actually met at Heroes Con, he was like,
Hmm.
style is all about the things that you get wrong. You develop
Right.
your style by developing the things that you do wrong. You know, and honestly, like I'm 100% on board with that. But that's just my kind of my liking. And they say the what is it, the 1,000 hours of comic book making, or is it that 1,000 pages? One of the two. Like you have to
Hmm.
put in that work before you get to like that comfortable level.
Yeah.
Same goes with going to school and everything. Um, so did so in case you kind of ended out everything, man. Did you guys have like a typical graduation ceremony? If you did, well, you probably did it online, right? If you had one.
No, we were like our graduation ceremony was like completely maskless. Everyone was just like walking around, mingling with each other, and just eating food and stuff.
Where
It
was it
it was
at?
in a it was in a wedding hall, and COVID was the year prior, and this was like 2021, and people were just now starting to kind of relax off of the COVID stuff. So yeah, it was a really good graduation party. We had the third years from the previous year who didn't have a graduation because of COVID. They came out to our graduation so that we all did it together.
Nice, nice. So that's pretty cool. I thought it might have been because I know some schools and stuff were still doing like online uh, graduation ceremonies, which I always thought was weird. Luckily, I didn't. When I was doing grad school, I finished like the December before COVID hit, so I didn't have to hit any of that. But
Right.
cool. So that's nice. You got to walk across the state or walk across an area of the wedding hall and like shake a hand and get a piece of paper like all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Fun.
nice. And some people got like uh oh, some people got like a blank what do you call it? A
Diploma.
blank diploma. Yeah, cuz they didn't actually like finish the last year. Like I think they had some assignments to finish or complete and they missed them. So,
So they didn't give you like a very expensive like inking brush or anything like when you graduate. They were just kind of like, here you go.
nah,
No
just the
specials.
paper. Just the paper, man.
Just the paper.
Yep.
Just the paper and a whole bunch of money
Yep.
that you gave to them.
Yep.
Um, so okay, man. So kind of wrapping up this interview series here in terms of the program as a whole. Um, what do you kind of assess it? Do you think it was how has it impacted you now to this day? Is it you know is it something that you would recommend to other comic book artists who who are aspiring or want to get to the next level or something? Like in your opinion, was it worth the 3 years, the tuition and everything? Like what's your overall assessment of the Cuber School?
I would say for me specifically, it was absolutely worth it. And that's because I wasn't afraid of the debt. I thought the money I'm going to make from what I'm going to do in comics is going to completely eclipse the amount of debt that I'll get into by going to the school. So I thought it was worth it for me. But for anyone who's afraid of debt, don't even bother with it. Just see if you can find a pro or a mentor that lives close to you and learn from them, and just keep challenging yourself with somebody else. Um, I like the Kubert School for the fact that it had teachers, instructors, peers, and people you could like network with and make friends with. A focused environment where all you had to do was learn to draw and draw better. And you're basically in that for 3 years. And it was just laser focus time. It was great. Um, and then for the fact that it was my first time, well, I guess it was my second time away from family, where I could learn and grow to develop on my own and become my own person, really. So I went for all of that. It was like an adventure, just
Right.
trying to figure things out, learn new things on the fly, becoming an RA and being responsible for other people and learning things that way. That was uh, really worth it to me. So
Yeah.
by the end of it, the skills that I got from going to the Kubert School for 3 years, I've carried on even until now. The amount of work that we did all 3 years showed me what an actual like work ethic looked like. Showed me what it was like to be in a crunch, like during crunch time. It showed me what it was like to be swamped with work and to overcome it and overcome those difficulties. And you would watch other people kind of fall behind and try to encourage them, or you'd watch other people squander their time on like video games, and you would think they were trying to get good at the video game and not school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
But
like that's what it is in all colleges. You,
yep,
you have those kids everywhere.
right. And you would see all these types throughout your 3 years, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to put my nose to the grindstone, but also try to make friends and make it a worthwhile journey that throughout those 3 years.
Yeah, I like what you brought up about like you were in an environment that kept you laser focused because I
Yeah.
think that there's so much value in that. I mean, you have creators nowadays, and I would hope to do it sometime. You know, when I have the ability and time to do it.
Hmm.
But some creators will just take 2 3 weeks and just like go out to like middle of nowhere city town, you know, more desolate places so that they can go and just like focus on a new project or something. So like by you having like the ability to not really be influenced by too much outside, you know, if you're going to, you know, a comic school with, you know, 20 other dudes, like you don't have a ton of distractions, you know.
Right.
It's there's a lot of just art and drawing going on for that whole time. But
Yeah, because there was no prereq prerequisite classes. Like there was no math or science you had to learn. It was just drawing all the time. And the main thing is like you get out what you put into it.
mhm.
Like truly, if you can't just go based off of what the teachers are teaching you. You have to supplement that with YouTube and all that stuff. I went to the school because I knew there was a level that I could reach, but I couldn't reach the next level without help. Like I couldn't do it alone. I'd gotten myself up to a certain skill level by myself, but without certain instruction, I wouldn't have gotten to the level I am now. Because there were some skills in terms of like digital art or like painting or drawing that I was taking like hours to do one thing or do one technique,
Mhm.
and the teacher would just be like, "Oh, you don't have to do any of that. Just do it like this." And they would show me really quick, and I'd be like, "Wow, that just solved so many problems." And
Would it be like something uh like say you're trying to like detail a figure, but then they say, "Hey, just do like a silhouette or something like that." Is it some like you're talking about like things like that that like are kind of quicker to the point, kind of get you around a few complex solutions, or
yeah,
would they like show you how to draw the figure quicker or something?
it would be things like things that they had picked up in their professional careers that you wouldn't be able to learn on your own.
Hmm.
So I didn't know, one thing I didn't know was that some artists have ghost artists, like they have people like assistants working on their backgrounds. So I would think that the comic issue is a full vision of the creator, but some of them are just having people work on the background so that they can focus on the main
Hmm.
parts of the issue.
Yeah,
And there's like digital techniques, like in terms of coloring, that I thought, oh, I need to do this and that, but then they're like, no, you don't need to do any of that, do this and that. And that would have taken me over 2 weeks of like sifting through YouTube videos and tutorials and blogs to figure out to piece together the right kinds of information. But because one person knows it all, they can just tell you, they can cut right through all of that and just tell you exactly what you need to know, and you don't
gotcha,
have to do any of that other stuff.
gotcha. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
if you
I
have the
think
right if you have the right question, they'll give you the best answer for that question.
yeah, I think that's a really good point for everyone that's watching too. It's like, you can maybe learn this stuff on your own, but you will get there 5 times, 6 times quicker by doing something like Ken did, right? Is that pretty accurate, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, not, you don't necessarily need to go to the school, but if you have somebody who knows the knowledge of the specific art that you're going into, then they can just tell you
Yeah,
exactly what you need to know.
right.
So there's only a certain level that you can get to on your own. And if you bring another person into the mix, if you bring a mentor or a master into the mix, then they can take you to that next level that you're trying to go to.
All right, masters, for those of you out there that are taking applications, everyone watching out there, man. It's our next goal, man. It's our next mission. Go find
Yep.
those masters that are willing to give us all this comic golden information. So, but Ken, man, that I think that kind of wraps up this interview, man. This was great. Thank you for doing this. Do you have any kind of last words to tell the people out there?
I would say that this isn't the only time we'll talk about the Kubert school. There's a ton of other like crazy stuff that happened that
Yeah,
we're just getting into like the basics of what happened here and there in the Kubert school, like the classes, the teachers, and that kind of thing. But there's a
definitely.
whole bunch of other stuff that we haven't even like discussed yet that
Right.
we'll get into in later videos and later parts and all that.
Yeah, man, 3 years is a long time, and like we said in earlier episodes, like that's one of the things of this channel is that you're getting perspective from Ken, who's gone to comic school, me, who's kind of just learning from picking up the tricks of the trade over the last handful of years and stuff. So, um, but anyway, thank you so much for joining us here for this part three. Like I said, if you haven't watched the first two parts of this interview, go back and check those out so you can get the full trilogy. We have completed it. The Return of the Jedi of this Kubert School interview. We've succeeded. We've taken down the evil empire, and now we're moving on and making some comics. So Ken, go ahead and let the good people out there know where they can find you. Where can they follow your stuff?
People can find me on Twitter every day at the Comic Ken, and you can also find me on Instagram at Comic Ken, and that's also my YouTube handle. I'm starting my channel back up again, and then I am releasing Air Riders printed books next year in March. So sign up to my newsletter down below and check it out. Check out the updates from that. And Air Rider High School Hero is available on Global Comics at the moment. I will be having a full website coming out pretty soon.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, so and you can find me at Nico_writes on Instagram and on Twitter. You can follow me on my Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. Got a handful of shows coming up here in the Houston ish area. I'll be talking about those a little bit closer to when they start coming around, the middle of August or so. I got a couple months here to kind of just keep my head down to the art table and still working on my graphic novel. Um, Pushing through, man. I'm getting close to that page 100.
Nice.
It's getting there, and I cannot wait to show all of you what I've been cooking up for this last year or so. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you next time.
Peace. Alright guys, the Kubert School vid drops this Saturday on my Kamiken YouTube channel. If you want early access along with exclusive footage including the basement footage which didn't make it into the final cut, sign up for the newsletter down below and it will be sent directly to your inbox. Feel free to unsubscribe anytime, even after you watch the videos. It won't hurt my feelings. Okay, maybe a little bit.